day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Dear Lord, I thank you for our education board. I thank you for our leadership in education, all of our teachers, our SOR officers. I thank you, Lord, for our students, our children. And I do pray that you would always put a hedge of protection around them with blessings upon them. Lord, that you would impart wisdom in their studies and in the administration of each teacher as they teach our children. Lord, bless each one. Bless this county. And it's in one name we pray, and it's in the name of Jesus Christ. And amen and amen.
Amen. Thank you. Our words of encouragement were provided by Glenn Green, the retired pastor at Kinsler Road Church of God. So we thank you for coming tonight. At this time, I call to order and welcome you to the Bradley County Board of Education regular meeting for April the 13th, 2023. I'd like to recognize some commissioners we have in attendance, which is Chairman Tom Fry, Commissioner Tommy Redford, Commissioner Scott Gilbert, Commissioner Daniel Beatty. At this time, we will have the pledge to the flag to be led by Mr. Teddy Bryson.
Please stand. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job. Also at this time, we would like to have a moment of silence to honor the victims who lost their lives in the tragic shooting at the Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee on March the 27th. And also to honor two former employees, Betty Jo Pierce and Janita Clayton, who passed away prior to the last board meeting. Both were special education assistants, and Janita also drove a special ed bus for us as well. So if we'll please bow our heads for a moment of silence. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is item number 5, the consent agenda. Does anyone have any items that they would like to pull from the consent agenda at this time?
Madam Chair, I'd like to pull item D, the bids on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Yes,
Do you want all?
Yes.
Okay, so we will move items 5D, 1, 2, 3, and 4 to, we will move them under number 18, under work sessions. All right. Are there any other items that need to be pulled from the agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing items number 5?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda, removing those items.
Okay, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Are there any further discussions? If not, Miranda, will you please call a roll?
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Payson?
Yes.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Dr. Levingood? 7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
All right. The next item on the agenda is persons requesting to address the board, and there was no one to sign up. The next item on the agenda is Director of Schools report. Dr. Cash.
Thank you. As we talk about the things that are going on in our county, before we start into much of anything that I have planned, I wanted to announce and keep in mind that TCAP testing will begin on April the 17th, and all TCAP tests will be completed and turned in by April 28th. That is a very hard time in our district, and to just note that our teachers have prepared our students well. We hope that things go smoothly, and we wish them the best of luck in letting everyone know the knowledge that they've gained. I also want to, in looking at that, I also want to let those of you know that our board has been working with our finance department and on our budgeting, and we want to assure everybody that even though we don't present this budget until May 4th, we want to go ahead and let our faculty and staff know that we're working extremely hard to keep the salaries competitive and making sure that we are either matching or exceeding our surrounding districts. And with the support of the governor and our state legislatures, we've been given additional funding, and the mandates that were to begin teacher salaries beginning at $50,000 by 26. That's where those funds are coming for, and we're working diligently to make that happen in the coming year. We are also saying that we're going to move ahead with that, and it will affect our new teachers, but also this teacher scale and the scales across the county will change to move those up as this board pleases to do so. And we always place our educators at the top of our focus, knowing that they do the heavy lift and the heavy work, also with our support staff as a priority. So obviously budgeting for those salaries is of major importance to this board, and I just wanted to let everybody know that even though it's not till May 4th, they're working diligently to make that happen for everybody. So if we could go into just talking about Make a Change Day. First, I want to give a shout out to Prospect. They have led this Make a Change Day for many years, and Make a Change Day is when we're collecting funds for our sack packs and to quiet the hunger that's in our students' bellies all the time, and we appreciate their efforts. And if you look, you will notice that we collected, and these are change that our students are bringing in and our faculty are bringing in, $13,118, and I actually think it exceeded that afterward. So that is this community giving back to the ones that don't have much. So I appreciate that, and I do want to again recognize Steve Montgomery and his counselor for leading that. We appreciate that. We also had some exciting things with our STEM designations. Moving forward, we had 3 visits from the state of Tennessee. I'm supposed to say that Prospect and Walker Valley are esteemed in honor of Nancy Kaysen. They appreciate the art, but with them you can tell that they've done a lot of hard work to be designated as esteemed. They were the 3 that honored with a visit this year. I went by and saw some of the work specifically at Prospect, and a lot of effort, and the students carrying the load, and that's what we like to see. They're the ones learning, and they're the ones doing, so that's exciting. And from that, we want to talk very much about our study that's happening. We have engaged an architect to look at all of our elementary schools, and you can see that he has visited all of those. He has still 2 more to go, and that is, I've already forgotten, I believe it is Waterville and Prospect that he still has to visit. So they visited 9 of the 11 and have diagrammed and noted existing conditions in each of them. The principals each took the time to talk about the function of all of their facilities and uses and guided everybody through very well. All of them were enthusiastic and engaged to open up their schools for the architect to come in. And of course, we will finish Prospect and Waterville soon, and that is hoping to come up this next week if we can get that done. Once those diagrams and meetings have been finalized, they'll sit down with Mr. McKay to better understand the expansions and what we have. They have to look at where gas lines are, where and the actual capacity of the buildings, and then any other significant factors that might interrupt any kind of expansions. Some of ours are truly at capacity, and some of them are capacity just because of where they sit. Corbett Drew has been in touch with Robert Vornell and Doug Berry to help us understand the growth in the community and the potential growth to come, and we'll continue to engage with them further as part of the next steps. Any other significant developments, as they assess, will always be come back when we're ready to report to the board. So that work is continuing. It is an in-depth look at our schools and a look at the growth in Bradley County. We're very excited that this board chose to move forward with that. Just wanted to give y'all an update on that. And then, obviously, last but not least, our video, this emphasis this week is student leadership. And again, that's one of our goals, is to keep the board updated on the things that are happening in our district. So this is leadership.
Student leadership is a critical component of a successful school community. It provides students with an opportunity to develop important skills such as communication, decision-making, problem-solving, and teamwork. These skills are essential for success in both academic and personal life. Student leaders have the power to influence positive change in their school community.
Student leadership is such an important part of Bradley County Schools. We rely on our students for so many things, and it gives an awesome opportunity to be able to motivate others, to influence others, so they can play positive roles in our schools.
Leadership roles and finding things that you do well gives a child a focus for their future, something that they take with them. Now, it may be something that ends up being a vocation. It ends up being a job. I watched a student using some of our STEM activities and realized, okay, this little guy struggles in reading, but he can already code. He picked it up just like that. That's his gift. That's what he does well. And you know, success is kind of like a pebble in a pond. Success breeds success. It just grows and grows and grows. So giving children successful opportunities to lead and find out what they do well, that has an impact on their entire life.
Leadership opportunities are important for students as they progress from elementary to high school. When students take on positions of responsibility, whether in our community or in our schools, they feel genuinely good about themselves. They feel empowered to do more. Providing leadership opportunities allows students to show their ability to lead their peers, serve as role models, and create new initiatives.
We can instill leadership skills into them at this young age. We know that as we move on, we are leaving our district and our schools in great hands. I've often heard that you don't want to live forever, but you want to create something that does. And I feel that that's what we can do by instilling leadership qualities into our students of Bradley County.
So I just want you to notice that no matter where you go in Bradley County, students that are at the center of what we do and what we want to leave our legacy for. Again, you have to look at it's ongoing all the time. As you'll see, we have more student leaders coming through tonight. And I want to go back to just the STEM visits and the STEM designation. Black Fox, Walker Valley, and Prospect received visits this year. However, we have many more that have already received, and it's all about preparing students for the future. So we really want to give our principals a shout out for leading that charge, and all of our teachers who run those clubs and run those programs and put their hearts into what that is. So that is my report, and I'm open for any questions.
Do I have any questions for Dr. Cash? If not, the next item on our agenda is the TSBA Scope Student Recognition. Dr. Cash.
So again, student leadership and the things that they make us look good about. So annually, TSBA hosts the Student Congress on Policies in Education, which is SCOPE. And brings 9 through 12th grade students together from across the state. They talk about current topics, and participants have the opportunity to explore education issues through a mock school board. So they actually sit and judge and do the things that you do. They have group discussions and debates with their peers, and they're designed to give students an understanding of how a board actually operates. So this year we had 4 students, and if they would come up as I call your name, please. And then I'm going to read some things that are very important about these students that their principals and teachers read. So if we could have Lainey Inman, Macy King, Kendall McConkley, and Caitlin McMahon. So I'm not trying to embarrass you, but I just want you to know what your teachers think about you. So Caitlin is in the 10th grade at Bradley Central High School, and this is the comments about her. It is without a doubt a diligent and dedicated student. She demonstrates a strong work ethic, which is evident in her academic achievements and her extracurricular schedule. Caitlin will continue to excel in her academic and extracurricular activities and make valuable contributions to all the communities that she is a part of because of her outstanding character and drive. Lainey Inman, 10th grade at Bradley Central, which tells you we're building leaders all the way up. She has an infectious enthusiasm for learning and for those around her. She's a natural leader whose skills can be used inside and outside the classroom for success. Lainey has a bright future, and with her intellect and drive, she will make a positive impact in many areas by challenging herself and motivating others. From Walker Valley, we have Macy King, 10th grade. Macy is a model student who works very hard and leads well in academics and extracurricular activities. She is so sincere and passionate and desires to be great in everything she does. She's always first to volunteer or help others in need of, and her need for excitement for learning and discovery is contagious. Kendall is a 10th grade student as well. She works hard at everything she does. Her dedication to growing as a human and helping others is so encouraging. Even when she doesn't have all the information, she will research to find an answer. She is destined for success in the future. So if you would give them a round of applause. Introduce yourselves and tell us just a little bit about your experience at the SCOPE conference.
I'm Macy King, and going to SCOPE at Belmont was one of the coolest experiences I've had so far in high school. It was cool to see how a school board works. We got to do some mock school board meetings on some topics that were serious, and I really enjoyed getting to voice my opinion in like a serious meeting.
My name's Lainey Inman. I had a really great time at the SCOPE conference. I learned a bunch of new debating topics and got to voice my opinion on certain topics that I felt very strongly about, and I hope to attend again.
I'm Kendall, and I had a great time at SCOPE. I thought that it was a great experience, and I learned a lot from it. I got a lot of great opportunities that I think will really helped me to succeed and grow in the future. I really enjoyed, like Macy said, being able to express my opinion on different topics and getting just to see how things run.
My name is Caitlin McMahon, and I really enjoyed the SCOPE conference. I liked being able to be there and be in the presence of all the people who had been in years before and figured out how to do everything. I liked being able to see the sides of the pro and the con. And I really enjoyed seeing everyone's opinion and how they thought about everything. And I just liked being there. It was a great atmosphere, and it helped me be a leader, and I hope that I can shine my light through the community.
Thank you. So what were some of the topics that you debated?
My topic was, so I was put in the con group for this topic, but it was having a high school representative for the student body being present and having a voice in the school board, like what this is. And so it was really interesting hearing everyone's opinions. Most of us would have been a pro for that, but we liked being a con because we had more to say for it. And so it was really interesting to see how the whole debate played out and how it all went about.
So you didn't get to choose which side, you
No,
just were assigned pro or con.
Made it more of the fun.
I'm sure it did.
Another one we did was that seniors at the end of their high school career had to take another career aptitude test. I wasn't on that one. I was a pro for the one that Caitlin was telling you about. But we just discussed whether that was a good idea or a bad idea. I think a lot of people more
we're leaning towards the con of it, considering that seniors are already facing a lot of pressure and a lot of tests and stress with college. So
Mine was that students who would do extracurricular activities should be able to use that as their PE credit, and we had pro for that one, and that was one I felt very strongly about.
Mine was similar to Caitlin. It was with having students present in the school board meeting, and I'm pretty sure I was pro to that, yeah.
So we have certificates for you, and they are actually from TSBA, and they are saying, thank you for serving with distinction as a delegate to the Student Congress on Policies in Education. I'm going to come around and give these to you, and then we'd like our board and your principals to come forward so we can get pictures. So y'all can come forward.
Did you all say you went to Belmont for this issue?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because Mrs. Bryson has been several years to observe you all, and we always look into MTSU,
Yeah.
so
Macy.
Belmont's good as well.
It was really nice.
Can y'all come around this way? Lainey. Kendall. Thank you. Caitlin. Come this way. Dr. Bell.
Do you want to
I'm going to kind of look
Do it,
inside.
yeah.
And then the board members are just going to kind of. Okay.
Dr. Cash, you want to be in the middle of us?
I can.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Picture.
I don't think I was going for yours.
What you're saying?
I got it.
Do we need to see?
No, you're good, I'm good. I'm good. Stay right there. I'll stay right here.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job, girl.
All right, our next item on the agenda is the Walker Valley High School State Champion Archery Team Recognition, Dr. Candace Bell.
Madam Chair, Dr. Cash, and members of our board, I am honored to present you with your state champion Walker Valley High School archery team. Two things I'd like to say, and then I'll turn it over.
Go on in on that side too.
Come on in.
We had to push them outside, they were wrapped up.
I told them they didn't have to stand in the rain. Two things I'd like to say, and then I'll turn it over to Coach King and his leaders. This is the second year of our archery program at Walker Valley, and we are just thrilled to already be experiencing this success. And my understanding is that their score was the top score maybe in the past decade at the state tournament. So I'll let you talk about next steps.
And I also want to express, I'm so proud of these guys. It's really not anything. I point them at a yellow target, say shoot there. That's where we get the most points. Encourage them there. But these are driven students, and I think that represents a lot of what goes on at Walker Valley. Their goal is to come in and practice as hard as they can in whatever situation we're given to practice in. And we have excelled in 2 years. I met with Dr. Belt, what was it, October, maybe earlier, 2 years ago. I was like, we've got some kids here that are crazy good archers. I was thinking about Kendall because I just looked at his scores. I knew that my daughter had just come out of Ocoee Middle School, and she was wanting to continue the archery club tradition. And I was like, we've got to get these kids shooting. And I thought last year we're probably going to be state champions. Now we got sixth. Maybe I set the bar too high, you know what I'm saying? But going from maybe 80 teams competing in the state championship getting sixth, and next year getting first. These guys are amazing. I don't think it's going to end anywhere. We're going to the Nationals on the 12th, and our hopes are, I mean, you got to be invited. You got to win state to go to Nationals. I hope we do great. I think we're going to do awesome. Last year we scored almost 50 points less at Nationals than we did at state this year. So we're 50 points ahead of our national score already. So we have great things ahead of us. I'm super proud of them.
And Coach King is a parent coach, and they practice 3 days a week in our school cafeteria where they move all the tables and all the chairs out and back so that they can practice to show excellence in their craft.
How many of you guys had done archery prior to going to Lake Forest? Or going to Walker Valley? So you all, did you do it at the middle school prior to, or did you just do it in the middle school?
Some of them started in like, we have Black Fox, we have elementary schools represented here all the way up. And that's why Kendall, he's our captain this year, and our hopes were we have to win. He's graduating. He's been doing this for 7 years. We need a championship. This boy needs a championship. And so we pulled through for you guys. You know what I'm saying? They pulled through for themselves. I did nothing. I stood around and watched. So they did great.
And we have a great deal of parent support in the audience tonight as well. They make a difference. They get them to
everywhere. It's all we drive all over
Kentucky now.
Yeah, and so we got one more big trip. It's going to be great.
That's awesome. And thank you for taking the time to coach these kids. That's a dedication that we greatly appreciate as well. I'm actually going to move you guys forward if you don't mind, so we can turn and get a good picture of you, so that we can post it everywhere. We're a little bit proud. Congratulations.
I need to post here. Right there. Yeah. Filling right here. Yeah. Watch the technology.
Where are we going?
So
Are y'all talking about? Either way, I'm going to be there. Yes, they sure do. And they're all
I want you to stay there for 1 minute because I do want to honor Dr. Kim Fisher making the call to me and said, I want to start archery, and then coming back to me and saying, the whole county needs to do archery. This isn't like you got you where you are. No. Yes. Dr. Fisher, could you get in the middle? I mean, I'm not kidding. She brings me a banner where the Black Fox is winning and said the whole county needs to do archery. Good. So here we are.
Good stuff.
Thank you. We're very proud of you. Thank you.
We need to get part of you
Watch the board.
We got like 24.
Thank you. So each year, the Office of Coordinated School Health likes to celebrate accomplishments. And so this evening, I would like to celebrate an accomplishment within our telemedicine program. As you know, we established a new partnership with Ocoee Pediatrics back in February of 2022. This partnership has allowed a more streamlined and simplistic approach for school nurses to be able to care for the needs of our students. We appreciate our continued partnership with United Way of Ocoee Region and BCPEF, Ms. Lynn Bowles, and we would not be able to function without their support. So tonight, I would like to recognize school nurse Christy Norris for completing 100 telemedicine visits from February 2022 until February 2023. So Tabitha, if you and Christy will come forward, we'll present her with a trophy of appreciation for her wonderful attitude and her effort that she gives in taking care of the faculty and students at Parkview. So congratulations, Christy.
Madam Chair, may I speak? I do want to say every visit that I take to Parkview, she has a smile on her face. She welcomes every kid who comes through the door, and she's always just a joy to be around. And we appreciate your dedication to Bradley County Schools and to our students, and that is extremely impressive to have that many telemedicine. So thank you. That's helping our kids have health care that would not normally have health care. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the Innovative Schools Model Grant. Ms. Arlette Robinson.
Let's keep the good news flowing. I'm here to talk about money, giving money. So it is my pleasure to report that Bradley County Schools has been approved for the Innovative Schools Model Grant, which will run from 2023 to 2026. This is a $3 million non-competitive state grant. It's going to provide $1 million for each high school, Bradley Central, Walker Valley, and $500,000 to each middle school, OMS and Lake Forest. This grant was designated in the governor's budget beginning this school year to be used directly for CTE programming. The funding for this grant will be used for capital projects such as much-needed renovations to greenhouses. Our Walker Valley greenhouse was taken out in the last storm, part of the roof, and so it's much needed renovations to have some for Bradley as well. Automotive, AV, and STEM lab spaces at the high school, we can update those in capital with this money. CTE equipment updates in the high school programs. We've done a lot for PI. This will bring this money back to the high schools. It will also provide for sustainability of transportation to the PI Center, so our students can go there. From our Innovative High School Model Grant we have now to this. Personnel is included in the grant to provide some of these programs like the transportation. In the middle school, funds will be used to create CTE program expansions, including health science classes at Lake Forest and business and marketing classes at Ocoee Middle. We are extremely excited to have this $3 million, and we plan to use it well in Bradley County for CTE. Do you have any questions?
Just congratulations.
Yeah, we're excited. We're excited. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the PI change order. Corbett Group.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Four items on the change order tonight. The first is adding in mechatronics, adding some electrical circuits for trainers. Trainers were newly acquired through a grant, and we have 120 volt drops at each of the work tables, but we have to come back and add 280 volt drops at all those tables to accommodate that new equipment. We're future-proofing the second line item, future-proofing the welding lab by putting an overhead door, much larger door, so that some of the new equipment and all the future equipment can get in and out of that lab a lot more easily and without disassembling those things. Again, grant-funded a tire changer and medium-heavy truck. This is to add the circuits to power that as the third line item, and then add repairs to the retaining wall We had several areas of landscaping that we've had some erosion. This will put rock back, this will backfill some areas, and we had some damage to the retaining wall on the north end of the property, and this will fix that last line item. Any questions?
Cost us?
Partial. Total cost to us is $49,465, which is within the amount that's already been allocated.
Are there any more questions for Mr. Drew? If not, do I have a motion to approve the pie change order?
I make a motion to approve the pie.
I have a motion by Mr. Bryson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mrs. Kaysen. Are there any more discussions? Miranda, will you call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Kaysen?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Dr. Lovinggood?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the elementary virtual school. Ms. Elizabeth Taylor.
Good evening. I'm happy to report that enrollment has boomed at all of our elementary schools, but with the exception of one, and that is our virtual school. And so we have seen a steady decline actually across several years. The elementary virtual school has only been open for a few years. We actually opened it initially as a response to COVID for students who needed virtual learning opportunities. And gradually across those years, we have seen that enrollment decline as students have returned to traditional educational settings. So for the coming school year, we are projecting that the enrollment for the entire 3 grades that remain at the elementary level to be only 6 students. And so, as you all are well aware, with our funding formulas, that is not enough to provide for even one individual teacher's salary. And so it makes it very difficult to justify the expense of providing those grade levels with that few of students. So I bring that information to you tonight for your consideration.
Are there any questions for Ms. Taylor?
What grades are they in?
We have 1 3rd grader that would be moving to 4th grade for the next year and 5 4th graders that would be moving to 5th. And that's all. Yeah, we have several students in 5th grade currently, but of course they will move to 6th, which then is no longer elementary school. And middle school is a well enough enrollment that there wouldn't be any jeopardy of that.
Before this year, how many approximately did you have in this elementary program?
I believe we have roughly 10 in 5th grade currently, and so you're looking at about 16. But now at one point this year, we were a little closer to 30. They've just dropped as the school year has gone along, and that has happened just gradually across the last 2 or 3 years of the existence of the school.
So they're going back to the regular program, regular school?
Yes, that is what many of them have done. Some of them have just moved on up into the middle school levels of the virtual school, and we just haven't had lower grades starting in because we've had huge enrollments in our kindergarten the last couple of years.
So the low numbers is just in elementary?
That's correct.
Are there any more questions?
Do you have a recommendation?
Well, my recommendation would be that we encourage those 6 students to return to our regular schools. Quite honestly, I believe that that's where we can best educate. Elementary students in particular really need the interaction with a teacher. So I think it would be great for them to be able to participate in our brick and mortar buildings.
Madam Chair, with the information that Ms. Kaler has provided, the state requires the Board of Education, if you're closing any sections of schools, that you vote to do so in a public meeting. So I am asking and making a recommendation for a motion to close the 3rd, 4th, and 5th portion of virtual school for Bradley County Schools.
Based on Dr. Cash's recommendation and your representation, your also recommendation, I say that we move the elementary students back to their school, or our offer on that opportunity and close the elementary part.
Yes, sir. Could you make that in the form of a motion?
Yes. Motion.
Mr. Bryson has made a motion to eliminate the grades 3 through 5 virtual school for elementary. Do I have a second?
Second.
I've got a second by Mrs. Beatty. Are there any more discussions? Not Miranda, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Cason?
Yes.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the general purpose budget amendments. Ms. Susan Wilcutt and Ellen Smith.
Thank you and good evening. I've got basically a bundle of amendments that I'm bringing to you tonight. It's that time of year. This is basically the last time that we can do budget amendments that it will be applied to our budget at the commission level because it takes about a month to get them through. So hopefully you'll bear with me as I cover these. The first one is actually for our summer school program. We just were notified by the state that the money has already been allocated. So this is the amendment to amend in the money from the state to pay for our summer school. If I'm asking you to consider approving that amendment.
I'll make a motion to approve that amendment.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Are there any discussions? Not Miranda, do you please call the roll?
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Cason?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood?
Yes.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you. The second amendment is basically, it's two different items, but it's, we have honor choir money that we have in a reserve, and so we're pulling that money out so that we can spend it. And then the other part of that amendment is where we are just recategorizing the technology line item, and that's just a state requirement. So it's not anything that we do, we just are told to move it, and so that's what this amendment is for.
Do I have a motion to approve the budget amendment for the choir money and the technology?
I make a motion.
We've got a motion.
Second.
And I have a second. Are there any more discussions? Miranda, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Cason?
Yes.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you. The next one is our teen care collections, and this is what our nurses do, and we put it in a reserve. This has been going on for several years now, where they have asked to give the nurses a stipend for the additional work that they've done to attain this money. So this is not coming out of our regular budget. This is money that has come in through teen care that we've held, and now they're wanting to amend it in so that they can do the stipends and do some supplies for $1,529. So we're asking you to approve that.
Are there any discussions?
How much is the stipend?
The stipend total is $18,777.40.
Well, they will all get part of it.
Correct.
That's the way it
Yes, and that also covers the benefits as well.
Do I have a motion to approve the stipends and supplies?
I make a motion we approve your motion about the nurse, for the nurses stipend. I second.
Got a motion and a second. Are there any more discussions? If not, Miranda, will you call the roll?
Ms. Cason?
Yes.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you. The next one is an amendment to move money for our after-school program out of some of her line items into salaries. So that is just to finish up her year.
Are there any questions?
Could you repeat that?
Yes, our BCU program, our after-school program for the kids, that is a grant. And she's basically just moving money from one place to the other.
Are there any questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve the BCU amendment?
I make a motion we approve.
I've got a motion by Mr. Bryson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I've got a second by Ms. Cason. Any more discussion? Miranda, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Cason?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you. The next amendment is to amend in 2 new grants that we were just awarded. One is for the Spark grant, and that's CTE supplies and equipment, and one is for the Innovative School Models grant for CTE.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Wilcox? If not, do I have a motion to approve the budget amendment for the grants?
I make a motion to approve the budget amendment for the grants.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussions? Miranda, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Ms. Cason?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you. The next one is to move more TennCare money back in, but this is for the special ed department. So this is just to pull it out of fund balance because it was in a reserve and we have to pull it out in order to spend it. So that's what that is.
Are there any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the TennCare?
I make a motion to approve the 10-10.
Got a motion. Got a second by Dr. Lovingood. Any more questions? Miranda, will you call the roll?
Yes, Dr. Lovingood? Dr. Lovingood? Mr. Taylor?
Rachel was just trying to figure out how to get a second.
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Cason?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Teddy's so fast, Rachel's just trying to figure out how to get a second.
The next amendment is something that we've spoken to most of you, or I think all of you about, is that we are getting a little bit more revenue than what we projected. And local option sales tax, we're going to be amending $500,000 extra dollars into that line. And then we also got growth money this year, which is a yay. That's not happened very often because you have to meet a certain criteria. And that's part of our our BEP now. It's going to be TISA. But anyway, we're getting $453,000 extra this year through the BEP. So we're amending both of those in to make a total of $953,000 being amended into this year's revenue.
Are there any questions? If not, Ms. Owens, would you like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we accept that amendment.
I second. I've got a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Not Miranda, will you call the roll?
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Cason?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
And I have one more. It's on the next agenda, but it's for 177. And this one, it looks really busy, but it's basically just truing everything in before the end of the year. As far as pie goes, we have a lot of money come from a lot of different areas, and this is just to true that up before the end of the year.
All right, are there any questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve the budget amendments on the pie revenues?
I make a motion that we true this up.
And I second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any more questions? Miranda, will you call the roll?
Yes, Ms. Cason?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good job, Miss Susan.
All right, so that covers item 14 and item 15. The next item is school pass. Mr. Scott Webb.
Good evening. I'm here to ask for you to approve a 3-year contract with School Pass. School Pass is a cloud-based campus movement and safety solution that we'll be using at Pye, Bradley Central High School, and Walker Valley to start. Gives us the ability to monitor traffic, person traffic in the building in one cloud-based platform. So we can check student attendance, we can check who's actually on campus, visitor pass, visitor management system as well. It'll also give us the ability to do emergency attendance. So if we're doing a fire alarm or a fire drill or something and people have to evacuate the building, they can open an app and take attendance and do it that way. There also is a bus management solution of this, so we can actually scan kids when they get on the bus to say that they've left campus as well. There'll be a student and parent app that we'll be introducing later that parents will be able to say, my kid is sick today, and we'll be able to track all that data. And in the future, we'll be able to add a hall pass solution so that at our high schools, we have our principals at our high schools have said that we need a better system of tracking kids within the building as well. So that would give us the ability to add that on once it becomes available for this particular platform. The money for the first year of this platform will be through money that we got reimbursed for through ESSER funds for this year. So it was stuff that we had put back into my budget this year that we were actually able to move some of those funds back into ESSER, and I got reimbursed for those funds, so we're using that to pay for that first year of this platform with that. And then we'll work the following year two and year three into the budget at a later date.
Are there any questions?
What's the cost on it, total cost?
Total cost this first year is $15,000. That's for all three schools. That includes equipment and all the stuff that comes with the actual that's iPad stands, because they'll use an iPad app to scan badges. We'll be able to provide badges or use student badges that they already currently have. And it'll also have a printer and a ticketing. So if a kid checks in late, you know that they have been to the office and checked in properly, because they'll have an actual badge, printed badge that they'll use.
What do they currently use?
Just a written piece of paper.
Is that coming out of safety money, or are you asking for more money?
No, I'm not asking for any money.
Not on the first year?
Not on the first year. The second and third year, I'll incorporate that into my budget. So I'm not asking for any additional funds. This is money that we had that we were reimbursed for this year for items that we had budgeted, but ESSER was able to absorb, and we want to try to maximize the use of those funds.
I think based on what's been happening nationwide, there's only one industrial.
Well, we really do have an issue with knowing exactly who is on campus, not just from a visitor perspective, but from a student perspective. Our SIS tracks attendance, but, for example, Pi kids are in class at Bradley and Walker Valley High School. Well, they may actually physically be at the Pi Center. We were going to have to find a solution to maintain, to be able to make sure we know who's in the school portions of the Pi Center anyway. We expanded that out to include our two high schools, because we see the value in what this program can give them and give them the ability to track who's actually in their building. We're not as I don't want this to sound wrong, we're not as concerned at the elementary level, because it's a smaller building. You tend to know the population of those buildings a little more. There's just a little more comfort and knowledge on that level. And if it works at the high school level, we'll look and see if it's something that we need to expand to the middle school level as well.
Motion to approve school pass for Walker Valley, Bradley Central.
I second.
So I just wanted to ask a question. So basically, you're saying that this will track, say, if they're at Bradley Central High School and going to the Pi, it will track when they...
Well, what they would do is they would check out at Bradley, and then they'll have a system at Pi where they'll have to scan to show that they are now in that facility.
So it will show the time they checked out at Bradley?
Time they checked out at Bradley and when they check out. So I'll have a district, so we'll have district, so I can see all the schools, and then the individual schools will be able to track exactly who's in their building at that particular point in time.
Madam Chair, I have one more question. So what's the accuracy on this, and has it been implemented anywhere else?
What's the accuracy? What are you
Like
talking?
this, has it been implemented anywhere else, the school?
Oh, yeah, there's several, I think there's about 25 million people that have, not 25 million school systems, but I think there's over 25 million scans per day at the school level. So it's a well-known product. Finding a solution for Pi was the reason this started, because we don't have We don't have an excellent way of tracking visitors. Yes, we could use the same kind of system we're using at the elementary level. This is an advanced version of that, but it doesn't give us the ability to do student attendance and who, from a student standpoint, is on that. We were going to have to solve that issue. We've just elected to try to expand it and go ahead and give some, especially the hall pass feature. Our high schools are very excited about the ability to be able to track hall pass and do that from a digital standpoint. So once that module gets released, then we're going to look at expanding that into those buildings as well.
Madam Chair, I know that we're in motion, but I do want to let the board know that when I met with my student advisory team, which are middle school and high school students, the actual high school students actually started talking about we've got to have an electronic way to track everybody, because we come and go and kids say they're going somewhere, but we don't really know where they're going. So your students actually recognize that we need a better system. So I think that speaks highly of what they're feeling about safety.
And our high schools are unique because we are doing so many great things, work-based learning, dual enrollment, those types of things. Well, in our SIS system, those students, if they're in those classes, they're marked as present. That's how we get funding for those. But they physically may not be on campus. We don't have a way to monitor to make sure that there's a sign-out sheet and you can do that, but now they have one dashboard that we can give permissions out to that can see, yes, this student was in the building, this student was marked present. They're in the facility right now.
Are there any more questions? If not, we have a motion and a second. Miranda, will you call the roll, please?
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty? Yes. Ms. Cason?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the tennis court update for information. Mr. Kyle Page.
Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to update you. We met with, so photos were taken of the posts that are loose at the tennis courts, sent to the general contractor. The subcontractor of the fencing has been on site and evaluated everything. Their recommendation, and they met with the tennis court, Mr. Elrod, as well as Coach Jackson came out as well and met and looked at everything. Long story short, their plan of action forward is to re-solidify to get through season, and then they have a plan once season is done to come in and drive larger posts, deeper posts, every so many posts. So they're coming in to do a larger structure, get a bigger footer, and re-solidify that way is their next step. They wanted to reassure the board, both from the general contractor end and the subcontractor end, that they do warranty those courts. They are under warranty, and All Fencing said that they are married to those and want to make sure that they get the best product for the board. So they will be scheduling that. Mr. Elrod and All Fencing will be scheduling that once season's up to make sure it doesn't impact camp schedule and those kind of things, but they do have a good plan of action moving forward, I believe. So,
did you say part of the post or all the post? I was under the impression it was going to be all the posts. No.
So their recommendation that they discussed was every other post. They were going to come in with the 3-inch anchor posts that go 3 feet deep with a larger footer. So right now you have those 3-inch posts as anchor posts in the corners, but they would extend these anchor posts out into where you've got the longer runs of fencing, every other fence. So I think it was 16 posts, if I believe. I'll go back and count, but 16 posts of the larger posts that are going deeper with larger bases. Correct. Their plan is to take all the fencing down and redo all of that.
At both schools?
At both schools. And once that's complete, then Lee Murray will be on the schedule to come back and resurface around all those areas that are not, that may be impacted in that process to make sure everything's taken care of. So.
Dr. Cash, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
How many bids did we get on this project?
On this project, there was 2 different groups that looked at the tennis courts.
So we're going to get the same company that messed up multiple times, Dr. Cash, to come look at it. So if it was my house and I built a $1.2 million house, okay, so I believe I would look at a third opinion. Someone to go look at it, get another opinion to make sure we're doing it well.
But isn't it under warranty?
It is currently under warranty, that is correct.
So if we went away from that company, then we would have to pay additional funds
Ms.
with
Beatty,
another company.
in all due respect, Ms. Beatty, if I built a $1.2 million house and my foundation's messed up, I believe I'd get another opinion before I use the same company to do it again after it was over with, to make sure we did it right.
Is this company, is that what they, I don't know about that. I played tennis, but I don't know about the court. Is this company?
This
they do
company
that?
has a history of building other tennis courts, yes, and I can provide.
That's not the first court thing.
No, that is
Madam
not.
Chair, I respect what Dr. Lovingood is saying. I would, Mr. Page, is there a possibility that we bring in the engineer for the project as well as the fencing company and have board members who would like to meet with them at the courts to be there to review?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I would really appreciate that. And if the board wanted a second opinion after that, after the board actually meets those members who would like to meet, I think I would recommend at that point
Yes.
for the board, for us to evaluate and see what it would cost. I know if anybody else does work, it would invalidate the warranty. Is that correct?
Well, obviously, they're under warranty.
Right.
If we get something done outside of their willingness, then that would be something separate. But with that said, I'm open to getting as many opinions
In all due
as
respect,
possible.
Dr. Gates, I agree. I appreciate going up there and looking at it. I'm not a contractor, I've never built a tennis court, and I'm not sure how much this company built a tennis court. But what I'm saying is this, I'm not saying for us to get another company to do the courts. I'm just saying, in light of our issues at both schools,
I understand.
that I would have another opinion if it was my health or if it was my house.
Yes.
And we spent $1.2 million taxpayers' money on it. Dr. Cash, I think it would be wise, there was wisdom, and after it's over, getting someone to look at it and make sure we did well with our taxpayers' money, because I'm concerned about it.
And as long as we remember, it is taxpayers' money.
Well,
So,
Madam
I
Chair.
want it done right.
Madam Chair, may I clarify with Dr. Lovingood that getting the work done and then having someone review the work that's
Right.
done? Absolutely, I
Yes, ma'am.
understand that.
Yes, ma'am.
I will be glad to investigate what that cost would be for the board and bring that back to the board in May, because we still will be working on the tennis court.
Yes.
I'll be glad to do that.
Because in all due respect, if they say it's done well, I'm not sure if we have contractors up here. If they say it's done well and they've met the requirements of the contract, I'm not sure if it's done well. But
Yes.
another opinion of an expert could say, hey, man, that's done well.
Yes.
So, Madam Chair, what I will do is, after the review of, and the fencing, I will be looking for the cost of someone who can reevaluate that and do my due diligence and bring it to the board an option for a second opinion in May.
So are you saying someone to do a second opinion after they do the work?
Yes, to verify that the work is done.
And that work is, I just want to make sure for the board, that work is not going to start until after tennis season scheduled with
Right.
Franklin for the final. So that may be like June-ish before that work is done.
Why do they think if the poles aren't deep enough, they just replace them? Some of them will make them okay. Why wouldn't they just replace them all while they were doing it?
Madam Chair, may I answer that?
Yeah.
Mr. Bryson, that's why I'm offering for any board member that would like to meet with them personally to have those conversations with the installers. 'Cause I
Okay,
think,
I wouldn't have been deep enough. I trust somebody.
no, I would just like, I really would, because I would like it myself, is to say, can you explain to me so
Why?
that I can articulate to people. So we'll set that up, and board members who would like to be there, I would
Yes.
like to be there just to hear the reasoning behind it.
Yes, ma'am.
And then when we come back in May, I will, May's coming fast, But either May or
June.
June, I would have options for the board for a second opinion. Second review, can I change that to second review? Thank you.
I'm for it.
Thank you.
Perfect.
The next item on the agenda is a work sessions and Dr. Jeff Lovington.
Yes, we had talked about work sessions, and I just think, going back to the word I kind of used a while ago, I just think there's wisdom in transparency and builds trust and builds unity. We have had great unity on this board. We have great unity in our school system, in our county. It's awesome. We've got unbelievable teachers and principals. And I think we've got so much to talk about, so many neat things that are happening in our community, at our schools. I think, I think it would be wise for us to be able to have work sessions to talk about all the things that are going on, to get information, so we are making wise decisions with clarity, and I think it'll make us all better. That's just my opinion, and I guess that's why my name is beside it.
Madam Chair, do you mind if I say something?
Sure.
I kind of agree with what Dr. Levitt said. I believe in our last meeting, there was a lot of discussion on the motion that Mr. Taylor made about the work sessions. And we are constantly reminded that we must do our own due diligence and homework when questions or concerns with any topic are up for discussion. With that being said, I've spent the last probably 4 weeks since our last board doing a little investigation of my own and doing a little homework. And I called roughly 30 of the 94 county schools in the state of Tennessee to see if they have regular work or study sessions. And of those 30, over 50% of those, so more than 15, had work and study sessions. But I wanted to take it a little bit further and do a little bit more digging, some more homework. So I reached out to the current state board member who was also a local board member for 16 years. I do not know this board member, we've never met. But this board member is in a great position to give a new board school member like me some advice and guidance on important topics such as work sessions. I asked the question, why would the board need work sessions? And these were his responses. We get other perspectives from other school board members. We can ask questions which may generate more questions, concerns, and or opinions. Work sessions are not hurried or rushed on making decisions. They allow school board members to focus on a couple areas at a time. They greatly increase decisions made and the quality of the decisions. We are better informed about past, present, future topics in the county. Now, I then asked another question. I said, is there any reason why a board would not want to have regular work sessions? And his response was logically no. He couldn't think of any one reason why a board would be opposed to regular or work study sessions. I was recently asked, what are you hoping to accomplish on the board in the coming months? And during my time as a school board member, and this was my response, I hope to establish meaningful relationships with leaders, principals, staff members within the community that's based on trust, respect, and integrity. Ensuring their needs are a priority and nothing I do is with a hidden agenda. As a board member, I want to advocate for the community, hold people as well as the board accountable, communicate a clear vision, and most importantly, focus on the safety and development of the students. I don't think there's anything that we as a board can accomplish if we stay true to ourselves. I'm all for work sessions, and like I said, I know it was a topic that was greatly discussed, and it might have gotten a little heated, or at least I feel like it was a little heated. But I did the homework, and I do think they're warranted, and that's where I want to end my speech.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a single board member sitting here that is against work sessions. I think it was, and the Bradley County Board of Education has a rich history with having work sessions. I think that the concerns were over the topics and what topics would we need for a work session. For example, a contract or the budget. So what specifically were we looking at when we were talking about work sessions? The second, I think, concern that was voiced was, and I will say my personal opinion, with a work session, if they are scheduled and we're having work sessions, Dr. Cash, I can ask you your opinion because this is simply mine. But people, unless it, like principals or central office staff, unless it's necessary for them to be here regarding that subject that's on the agenda, then I would request that they not be here unless you feel that they need to be here regarding a subject that we're discussing.
If you've got this board meeting right here, every president of this county's got something on this meeting that they want. If you put everything in the work session, then every principal is gonna have to be here, because something pertains to everybody in here. And if you go over at the work session, I'll be here. But if you go over then you're gonna have to go over the same stuff again to vote on it, because the public is more interested in the voting session than they are the work. They don't care if you don't understand this, whatever. They want to know how you're gonna vote. And on this session right here, there's nothing, of course, I've been a principal for like 30 years, that I didn't understand from the board policy or whatever. But if we both have one, I'll be here.
I just want to clarify that, you know, I was one of the ones that said, I feel like it's our responsibility to do our homework before we come into the meeting. I said that, and I'm going to explain the reason why I said that. I'm not against having work sessions. I'll be here at any work session that we have. We actually have 3 board meetings coming up in May. When they are needed, I absolutely believe that we should have a work session. But in that same respect, if we are requesting a work session and we're expecting Dr. Cash or her staff to get certain items together for that work session, then I feel that it is our responsibility to do our homework so that they can get prepared. And one example of that is at the last work session we had was a budget work session. Ms. Wilcutt sent out a budget priority worksheet for every board member to complete before that work session. That is her request that gives direction for her on how to build the budget. So out of her trying to prepare for the work session for our benefit, after the deadline to submit that budget priority list, she sent a text and an email, and we still had 3 board members who did not complete that request. So the first work session we had was very unproductive because she didn't get input from every board member. So then we ended up scheduling, Dr. Cash and Ms. Wilcutt set an entire day aside to meet one-on-one with each of us to go over the budget. And then we still had board members who had to cancel or could not come in on that day. So my point is I'm not against having work sessions at all, but I am against this board wanting to schedule meetings and expecting Dr. Cash and her staff to prepare for these meetings and to be at these meetings and to be away from their families in the evening, and then us not doing our part when we're requested to do something or to provide them with information to prepare for that meeting. If we ask them for something, we expect to get it. If they need something from us, it is our job to get it to them, because at the end of the day, if we do not do that, we're hindering the progress of the school system. That's all I'm saying.
Madam Chair, if I may, I don't disagree with those statements as far as the homework goes. My reasoning behind, everybody knows where I stand on work sessions. I think they're necessary and needed. I think homework is also necessary and needed, but I think that these work sessions will give us as a board an opportunity to speak and ask questions and kind of develop what is best, a direction for our district as a whole. As far as the topics and things to discuss on there, So I think somebody made mention of tonight's meeting. Well, there's a couple of bids on there. I'd actually ask that those be removed from the consent agenda and moved over to this open meeting to give people an idea of what's going on so that you guys would know. We're taking these bids, if there was due diligence put into it, we can talk about it. Some of these other items that have been discussed tonight, unfortunately, we as a board haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to discuss. There's some safety items that have been brought up, which are excellent, and I think that we're going to move in that direction. As a matter of fact, we voted on that, but it'd be nice to have a work session where we could discuss some of these.
Are we going to discuss it all or just part of it?
I think anything that warrants discussion.
Well, you know ahead of time.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily totally different agendas. I think we have an agenda of what we're going to talk about and an agenda of what we're going to vote on. We started this meeting this evening at about 5:30. I think if we'd had a work session for about an hour and then another work session, then a voting session, there'd been an opportunity to discuss all these things. We could have reduced the time of this meeting. And also, there's been a lot of people that come in and bragged a lot about our district. I mean, we had a state championship archery team. Arlette Robinson came and presented. This gives them more opportunity to give these folks time to come in and tell the good things that they're doing, and that's to recognize them. Again, it's just another opportunity to further what we're already doing. I think somebody has already said it. As a board, I think that we are united. We all have the same goal. We want to see good things for our district. And I think part of seeing those good things and that due diligence is instituting a work session on a regular basis.
But again, just to reiterate, you're saying that, sharing the good news and having people, that is going to require us to, Dr. Cash, to require these people to come in again on their time off to do that, which I feel like they work long and hard enough for us to require them to come in on another day, when if we just can't have it all in one day. I think it's just a disservice to the employees who put in enough time to do that.
My opinion on this is, like tonight's agenda here, and you've asked for 3 things to be pulled off. And so we look at those. It's our obligation, I think, to table something we don't understand. Okay, then if we table that, then I think that we should have a work session prior to, let's say our meeting is the second Thursday of every month. We go ahead and semi-schedule a work session for the first Thursday of every month. Whatever we table here tonight, if we table anything, then we have a work session regarding those items that we questioned and those things that we need to understand. If there's nothing, then I don't see that we need to have a work session if there's nothing to work on. But I think that we have, as my responsibility as a board member, is to look at all of this and question and ask things. I know several months ago, we had a situation that came up. We voted on something, and after we all left the board meeting, then we all said, we're not really sure what we voted on. That was our mistake. We should have tabled that motion right then and had a work session concerning that. But I personally, now I'll be there if you want me there, but I personally don't think that every month we need a work session. But I think after every regular board meeting, like tonight's, if there's anything that we table or anything that we need further discussion on, we go ahead and schedule that for the first Thursday night of May, if we don't already have that night scheduled or something. And we discuss that, and then the second meeting in May, second Thursday night in May, is a voting session and we vote on it. My personal opinion.
Ms. Nancy, if I'm going to have a work session, all I got to do is table something.
That's right.
I'll be there.
I guess what I'm asking is just for a regular schedule. We've got one scheduled for May, somebody made mention of, but that's on a Wednesday evening. Many of us have already kind of had to realign some scheduling to be able to attend that meeting. And so all I'm asking for is just a regular option. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the board reserves the right now to cancel a meeting. We've canceled actual board voting or regular meetings before already. Don't we reserve that right? So we would still have that right. They're not asking for unnecessary meetings by any means. But I am asking for a regular work session.
Okay, I really like to know, on the work session, you won't have a work session on the 4 bids? How long do you think that work, is that all that needs to be on the?
Well, I think most of
I'm
this.
just asking.
No, I mean, I can answer your question. I think most of this has already been addressed, but it would be nice if we'd had more of an opportunity with Mr. Webb to discuss some of these safety things, to see if there's any other companies or anything that offers it, to kind of show us, maybe give us a demonstration of how some of this works. And we would have an opportunity to kind of ask more of those questions instead of just moving strictly straightforward with it. And I'm not saying that it's not necessary, I'm just using that as an example. These general purpose budget amendments, it gives us an opportunity to talk about those and discuss them a little more in depth, or see if we've got questions on them. I know that Susan does a great job, I appreciate all that she's done and how that she's answered questions this evening, but sometimes there's more questions than what, we all want to go home to. There's more questions of what we feel like that there's maybe time to answer, or the last thing I want to do is cause embarrassment or put her on the spot. And some of these, I know that she may not have the answer right in front of her. We're in a work session that gives us more opportunity to ask those questions freely, and not only me as an individual, but as a board.
You want to take time, you don't want to take time tonight to do it, but you want to add another day to do it.
My suggestion would be.
It's hard to get somebody to come to meetings, period.
Well, that's one of my questions, is because it's very hard for us to,
Meet.
we have a lot of meetings now that we have to reschedule because we all can't be here.
So if we had a regular set scheduled meeting, I don't think it would be quite so hard to have to reschedule. It's responsibility. We know that it's there. We know what's expected. We know our timeframes, and we're not having to adjust anything that's already on the book.
My suggestion would be, excuse me, Judge, my suggestion would be that we go ahead and establish the first Thursday of each month to be a work session if it's needed. And that work session would be for like tonight's meeting. Then Miranda, Dr. Cash, Susan, anybody else would have from tonight until the first Thursday night of the next month to get the agenda items, the information that we want to discuss at the work session. If nothing happens tonight that we need to carry over to a work session, then we don't have to utilize that first Thursday. But I think to have it the week before would be great. It would be fresh on our mind. It would also give Dr. Cash, Miranda, Susan, anybody else that needs to report, it'd give you all extra weeks to get that done and get ready for the work session. That would be my suggestion. I'm not making that in form of a motion, but I will if I need to.
Ms. Kaysen, you're not saying like all
No, ma'am.
18
No, ma'am.
would be on a work
No,
session?
ma'am. No,
But
ma'am.
any board member could bring something
Specific
up.
Right,
items.
specific items that we either table tonight or that we say, oh, we don't really understand, could we have a
Well,
work session?
I think we know how everybody feels, and if somebody wants to make a motion, then we.
One more thing to Ms. Kaysen's thing, and this would be a question for Dr. Cash. I agree with what Nancy's saying, and I don't have a problem with that. My only concern with that would be, say for instance in May, if we have, it's the budget. If you want to table something then, we have a deadline that we have to get the
Right.
budget to the commission. So
Right.
if there is something where we have a deadline and it can't be tabled till the next meeting, it may not be able to be tabled till the next meeting.
So we would still reserve the right to alter that calendar or change it as we've already done in the past.
Yeah.
In a similar manner.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you because school safety is huge to me. So when I saw school pass, I called 3 different people and I Googled it and I got all of this information and I talked with school system personnel at the schools where it was going to be located. And, and as a part of doing that, I became really excited about the opportunities that it gives us.
There's some
to
cool
keep
stuff.
kids
One of the
safe.
ones that I looked into offers those halo monitoring. I don't know if this company does or not, but detects vaping in bathrooms and things. So, I mean, there's a lot of advantage to these systems.
I guess it's whether, some people do, they're calling before, and some people want to do it, I guess, during the meeting. That's kind of the consensus that I'm getting.
Somebody have a motion?
I'm making a motion that we institute regular work sessions on the first Thursday of the month at 5:30 with our regular voting session on the second Thursday of the month at 5:30. I'd like to have those times reserved for those meetings.
Mr. Josh, will you put Is it gonna be the whole agenda or specific items?
I have a motion, we need to get a second, and then we'll open it for
Oh.
discussion.
A second.
Okay, so I've got a second. So, Mr. Bryson, ask your question.
I just wanna know, are we gonna do this agenda? And is Miranda gonna have this agenda to us a week ahead of time again?
Madam Chair, may I?
Yes.
In listening to the board, I do think you've got some time-sensitive things that you have to look at. And what Ms. Cason is suggesting is that the items that would be pulled from an agenda would need more discussion, which would give time for my staff to do the work that needed to be done. It would be very difficult for us to have the agenda ready the prior Thursday and then turn around and have a work session and then, because we are collecting items, we're doing as much of our due diligence as we can, but if there is something that in particular that needs to be pushed, if it's not time sensitive, it could be a discussion for the next one. It is extremely difficult to have a work session on and then if it's time sensitive, if it's something that needed more discussion, it could roll or, depending on what the board wanted to do. But having your board sessions already scheduled, your work sessions, does reserve that time. If you need it, you use it. If you don't need it, then like Mr. Taylor said, that would be one that we could cancel. But I do think it would be very difficult for us to, like on this board agenda, there would be some things that, would be very easy to discuss. But on the other hand, there are some things that we could not pull together that quickly. So I think you'd have to work with us on what would be on that work session agenda.
Well, can one board member just say that we're gonna have a work session, or most people would say it ought to be a majority of you and or a majority of the board that wants to, Josh is right, there's things that custodial, there's a lot of things that need done. But most things, even the question I think we got tonight could be dealt with tonight.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think,
And you could even ask Scott to bring us back to the next meeting, more information about that high school.
well, aren't the agendas created by our executive committee, our chair, vice chair, and director?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the only thing I'm asking, and maybe people are misunderstanding, I'm
Not
asking.
vice chair, just the chair, I know.
Okay, so just the chair and the director. Is not being so much reactive but proactive. So I think we may be looking at creating these agendas backwards. What I'm talking about is having the agenda, looking at it, seeing what stuff we need to discuss, and then basically using that same agenda, same template, when we come back in for a voting session, to simply vote on it. Does that answer your question that you were asking?
I would believe if I was a taxpayer, if I came into a voting meeting, I'd expect to hear why you want to vote on it, because I couldn't come to 2 meetings because I work and I've got children. So when you want to vote on it, I want to hear them people come and tell me why they need to. I didn't get to come to your work session.
Well,
I can, but some of these people can't.
All of these meetings will be, by sunshine law, they have to be broadcast, they have to be public meetings, everybody is welcome. Questions can still be asked on the voting session. It's not that you can't discuss, they can still be asked, but it gives others inside the district and inside the central office time to answer those questions without being put on the spot.
Okay, y'all are kind of going backwards from what I'm saying. What I'm saying is tonight's meeting, here it is, right here in front of us. You have asked us to take 3 things out of the consent calendar. Okay, that's fine. We discussed those a little bit. We have questions about them. Okay, so next month, on the first Thursday in May, that's what our work session is about. Those things that we brought off. We're not going to have a work session about the next meeting. We're going to have a work session about what we take off of tonight's agenda that we need to work on before we come vote on it.
Why couldn't it just be added to the next meeting?
And Ms. Cason, I don't think that's what Mr. Taylor's motion was.
That's what I'm thinking too. I'm thinking we've got the cart before the horse here, and I'm not sure it needs to be that way. That's just my opinion. I just think that the work session needs to be things that are brought up, just like the contract we were talking about, cleaning contract. We left here going, what did we just do? All right, what we should have done was, I should have tabled that motion that night, and then the week before our next school board meeting, had a work session concerning that.
So,
Right.
but what my thought on it is this, Nancy, is instead of seeing that contract for the first time and having to vote on it or having to table it, have it in a work session where we can talk about it. So when it does come up for a vote, there ain't nothing to table and there isn't anything that we need to discuss unless somebody has a general question. We've seen it ahead of time. So it's accomplishing the same thing, it's just.
So you're saying we're gonna come back in at the next week and vote?
So, Madam Chair, just for clarification, in many meetings, as Ms. Kaysen is suggesting, there will be items on a board that someone would say, I think this needs to get moved to a work session.
Sure.
And so that would be in the next work session. When the agenda comes out it would be very difficult for my team to prepare an agenda for a work session, because you're pushing me back 2 weeks. So if I get it to you the Thursday before a meeting, that means I am actually backing up a whole week to get this agenda ready, and I've only had 2 weeks since the board meeting. So when I look at it, when I watch other boards, it is, could we have a work session on this? And that to me, in a time factor, makes sense. But that's just a personal opinion working with my staff, because we only have 30 days.
Right.
So if you're backing me up, like if I ended today, in 2 weeks, I have to have another agenda ready.
No, yeah, here again, that's what I'm thinking is that the work session is for any questions we have on this agenda, and we get the agenda early, we'll know what questions we have. So as a board member, it would be my position to vote, to say I'd like to make a motion to table that. I've already looked at it, and I want to table it because I need more information about it. So then it's tabled, and then we have that work session the next month, the week before our board meeting, to discuss it so that we can vote on it. But I don't think we need to be, I think we need to do it that way instead of the way you're saying. I think we need to have the work session on things that we know are going to be, that we have taken off the agenda.
Is that a substitute motion?
Yes.
Can you restate that
No.
substitute motion?
I'm going to second what Ms. Kaysen said.
And I've got a second.
So the substitute motion on the table, let me clarify, is that once we get the agenda, have the regular board meeting, if there's anything to be tabled, that will go on the following work session to be discussed.
Yes, that is basically my motion, yes. And Ms. Beatty seconded, thank you, Ms. Beatty.
You're welcome.
And that's not to say that I don't think we should have work sessions, but I'm just saying, I think we need to prioritize what those work sessions are supposed to be.
Madam Chair, may I ask, just for scheduling purposes, not to say that you're going to have a work session every time, because if you didn't want something moved, but I would request that we reserve dates for those work sessions so that they would already be on the calendar.
Yes, and I think
I think that was in my original motion, the first Thursday of each month, and then the second Thursday.
But it would, Mr. Taylor, it would be on, like, if there was something in this meeting that we wanted to go, is what needs to say, correct?
Right,
Okay.
right.
But those dates would already be in
Yes.
with the first and the
Right.
second.
Have the tentative work session there on the calendar, doesn't necessarily mean we have to have it.
Yes, ma'am.
But it's on the calendar.
Yes, ma'am.
So what Ms. Kaysen said, but schedule.
Yes,
I think it's a great idea.
thank you.
What if we did it Tuesday before the board meeting? You know, if we
that's
did it
not-
Thursday,
I don't think that's enough time.
you know, if you.
Oh, your work session?
Yes. If you
That
did-
would be heaven for me.
No, I think it'd be wise, because what happens is, if I make a decision, it's fresh on my mind. I mean, all of us have other responsibilities.
And so with that, it's fresh on my mind, then I make a decision on Thursday, what we just discussed on Tuesday, right?
Does that still give them enough time? I mean, that's
Yes.
less than a week to get back with the answers.
Well,
I'm asking, I don't know.
it would be,
It's for the following meeting.
It'd be, yeah,
It's from the
it'd be
following
28 days or something like that, so.
Yeah, so like if there was something in this meeting, and Nancy, I may not be saying this right, there's something in this meeting that we want to table back to a work session, that would be what's on the work session.
Right.
It wouldn't be current board agenda items.
Right, right.
I did something instead.
Point of order.
Point of order, okay.
So we got a motion and a substitute on it.
We've got a motion, and then we have a substitute motion, which was made by Ms. Kaysen. Does everyone understand Ms. Kaysen's substitute motion?
You ready for a vote?
Okay, so the motion is going to be to have work sessions when items are tabled from the current agenda, and we're going to have those the Thursday or Tuesday? The Tuesday prior to the next scheduled board meeting. Miranda, call the roll.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Cason?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
I'd rather say no, but because since the board said yes, because I understand most of it.
Is that a yes or a no?
Really?
Thank you for your second.
Go ahead and I'll come
I'm
back.
sorry?
No. Yes.
I guess. I don't need the meeting, but I'll be here.
Ms. Goins?
Yeah.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood?
Affirmative.
Ms. Lane?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the bids pulled from the consent agenda. Let me go back to that.
These baby times.
So, do you want to discuss these at this meeting, or you want to table these for a work session?
Mr. Taylor, these may be time sensitive.
Well, I was going to say, I've actually looked over these ahead of time. I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that I was very appreciative of the number of bids that came in, the due diligence that was done, and going after these bids and being proactive in seeking the bids. And again, I just appreciate all that were involved in that process.
Thank you, sir, I second that.
So do you take it?
Okay, so do you want to go over each one of these bids individually, or do you want to vote on them all at once?
Well, with it being money, shouldn't we look at these individually so that people know kind of what's doing,
My
what's
recommendation.
going on?
Well, it's in the agenda, so they can pull it up and they have access to the bids just like we do.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I would appreciate if we looked at them individually and we had a voice vote on each one of them, if it pleases the board.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're going to start with the first one, which is item 5D1, which is the paving at Lake Forest, Bradley Central, and North Lee. So does Mr. McKay want to come up just to take a look?
There were two bidders on this project, and the bids were received March 24th. We opened them at 10. It was a public meeting. It was a public pre-meeting too. Caldwell Paving bid a total price for the three schools of $472,540.01. And Pro Seal is a company out of Chattanooga. They bidded $545,114,000. And we've taken into consideration today, we received a phone call that the numbers didn't add up for Pro Seal, but we called them and that was their profit margin they left out of the, that they left off their tally, so.
Are there any questions for Mr. McKay for the paving bid?
Your recommendations would go with Caldwell Paving?
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion to accept Caldwell Paving bid on those three paving projects.
I second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second for accepting Caldwell Paving. Are there any discussions? If not, Miranda, please call the roll.
Yes, Ms. Kason?
Yes.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
The next item on the agenda is the janitorial paper supplies. I think that would be Ms. Ellen Smith.
Yes, so this is just the toilet paper, paper towels, and soap for the 3 schools that are still cleaned by our janitors at Black Fox, Lake Forest, and Bradley. So we still have to supply those products on behalf of our employees that clean the schools. So we did collect 4 bids this year. We used the social media, tried that on these first ones, and so we're recommending a split bid where Kelsan is going to get the soap and American Paper and Twine will get the hand towels and toilet paper.
Have we used those companies before, or these new?
We have used American Paper and Twine for hand towels and paper towels several years on and off since I've been doing this. We have not used Kelsan for the soap before. Mr. Drew from Pie, who's done all of things, has a relationship with Kelsan. They've kind of helped him out at the Pie Center. So this will be a good experience to get them in, see what service they can give us, and we can look at them in the future if they stay competitive.
Okay, so this has been kind of new. So I guess what I'm getting at is this new bid process worked pretty well.
This is actually the first time we've bid these out since prior to COVID. Fiscal year 20 was the last time we actually bid them out. There have been massive supply chain issues with all paper products since COVID, so we've been using state bids. So this is kind of a new experience for me because I kind of wanted to see where we failed. We actually collected the same amount of bids and this year as we did in fiscal year 19, which is the last time we did formally bid.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you very much for all your extra effort.
All right. Is there any more questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve the bids for the janitorial paper supplies?
I make a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and second. Any discussion? Miranda, please call the roll.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Kason?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
The next item on the agenda is the copy paper.
Yes, and so this is the copy paper that we supply for the entire district. We, this year, ordered approximately 2,100 cases. The bid's about for 1,900. We do adjust it based on enrollment in the schools. So they do get an allocation from us. If they do want to purchase above and beyond, the schools have that option, and it comes out of their instructional funds. So this year, we're looking at using American Paper and Twine for $39 a case. We ordered an initial bulk. All the schools have storage for it. We don't typically have case orders after Christmas, but occasionally it does happen. So we do ask for the initial bulk rate and then a rate after that.
Is there any questions?
Do they deliver the paper to the school?
Yes, this all includes inside delivery to the schools.
Any more questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve the copy paper bid?
I make a motion to approve the copy paper bid.
I've got a motion, do I have a second? I'll second. I've got a second. Any more discussions? Miranda, call the roll.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
Ms. Kason?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Dr. Lovingood?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the school nutrition box equipment. Ms. Brown?
Yes, I come before you today to recommend a serving line for Black Fox Elementary School. The serving line has been in place for over 30 years. And so the trend 30 years ago was for the students to come in and serve themselves. So that trend is very outdated, and so I come before you recommending strategic equipment for the new serving line.
Are there any questions for Ms. Brown? If not, do I have a motion to approve the school nutrition equipment at Black Fox?
I make a motion to approve the Black Fox Elementary bid for the service
Second.
line.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Have you bid? Are those lines, are they long?
Yes, sir. They're the long serving lines.
I know.
So we have food service equipment companies that come in and they help us design those, and then we go out to the sales company and then they bid on it.
Because they're hard to find.
Yes, sir.
Because they come in sections, a lot of times they come in sections.
Yes, sir.
Long ones are hard to find.
Yes, sir.
Good work.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no more discussions, Miranda, please call the roll.
Yes, Dr. Loving.
Affirmative.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty? Yes. Ms. Cason?
Yes.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Bryson?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes.
Thank you.
Good job.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the announcements. April the 25th at 3 o'clock, we'll have the Walker Valley Tennis Court dedication. May the 3rd, we will be having a teacher and principal administrator of the year luncheon at 11 a.m. at Westmore Church of God. May the 4th, we will have a work session here in the board meeting, boardroom at 4:30. May the 10th, we will have a special called voting session for the budget at 4:30. May the 18th, which will also be our next regular scheduled board meeting at 5:30. Prior to that, at 4 o'clock at Bradley Central High School, we will have a retirees recognition. The next item is agenda items for the next board meeting. In May, we always do the director of schools evaluation and discuss the directors of schools contract. So between now and the May meeting, Miranda will be getting out an evaluation form for everyone to complete and return to evaluate Dr. Cash. Are there any other agenda items that need to be?
I have an announcement. Cherry's Jubilee is April the 21st. Last year, I had 100% participation from Bradley County Schools. I'm expecting nothing less. The 19th and 20th from 10 to 5, you may bring those items to the museum center, and hopefully we can raise some money so we can send it back to you all and spend it on you all. So thank you for your support in the past, and I hope you're going to do it this year.
And you get your tickets at the chamber.
And you get, well, if you want to purchase tickets, you get them at the chamber. If you donate items, schools, then you get passes. So, and I'll give them to you that day at the museum.
And Madam Chair, on the Walker Valley Tennis Court dedication, is that at 3?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
And the Teacher of the Year celebration on May the 3rd is 11?
Yes, at Westmore Church of
Westmore
God.
Church of God.
Yes. Are there any more agenda items for the next board meeting?
Madam Chairman, Dr. Cash, I know it's a special call. I know we don't hardly ever meet on Wednesdays, but sometimes it's hard to meet on Wednesday night on the 10th, on the 10th.
You want to make that?
I don't, it doesn't matter. I don't want to adjust it for everybody else. I'll be here. It's just, Wednesdays are hard, Wednesday nights are hard.
We'll take, we're going to have the work session on the 4th, so basically that day we should have everything ironed out. Susan will just go back and make any tweaks that we need, so that day we should just come in here and just vote.
Yes, ma'am. I'm not trying to be hard on anybody.
No.
It's a tough day.
Wednesday night's a tough night for a lot of us. Yeah.
All right.